She takes a plane every day, but she never fastens her seatbelt. Yet this habit actually ended up saving her life. As the girl was sleeping in her boyfriend's arms, a fighter jet suddenly roared past. Then it collided directly with the passenger plane. The fuselage was instantly torn open with a huge hole. The powerful airflow at high altitude immediately sucked the flight attendants and passengers out. Because she didn't fasten her seatbelt, the girl was tossed around. Just as the airflow was about to suck her out of the cabin, her boyfriend grabbed her in time. But in the end he still couldn't resist the strong airflow and let go. Fortunately she reacted fast enough, grabbed the seat next to her, and wasn't thrown out by the airflow. But her boyfriend wasn't so lucky. The airflow instantly tore the plane into two halves, and took her away as well. Then the girl followed the other half of the fuselage, and began to fall rapidly. That's when she finally thought of the seatbelt, and quickly fastened it on herself. The rest could only be left to fate. She just hoped the seatbelt could save her life. Soon the plane was only dozens of meters from the ground. Luckily, at that moment her falling speed was slowly decreasing. A few seconds later she slammed straight into the ground, but unexpectedly the girl miraculously survived. When she woke up again, she was already in a forest. Though she narrowly escaped death, her calf was pierced by plane debris. Luckily it didn't hit a major artery. She wanted to pull it out, but the metal was stuck too tightly. Just moving it a little made the girl almost faint from pain, but she knew she had to pull it out. So she gathered her courage again. This time she used all her strength, and the metal began to slowly separate from her calf. Finally, in waves of heart-wrenching screams, it was pulled out. Then the girl sat there for a long time before she recovered from the pain. She quickly tore off a piece of her skirt and simply wrapped the wound. Then she struggled to stand up and began desperately calling her boyfriend's name, but she found there was actually another survivor in the back row. She ran up excitedly, but the next second, the sight of the corpse almost made her faint. She collapsed helplessly to the ground and slowly slipped into unconsciousness. After a long time, a mosquito woke her from her coma. Then she heard the roar of a helicopter. It was a rescue team sent by the local government. The girl quickly tore a scarf from the nearby dead body and ran toward the sound of the rotors, ignoring the stabbing pain from her wound. When she saw the helicopter, she waved the scarf in her hand and shouted loudly, but the helicopter flew straight over her head. Luckily an old man on board saw her, but the person in charge thought, falling from 50 meters, there was no way anyone could survive. Maybe that person was just a camp cook nearby, waving at the helicopter to say hello. The girl could only watch, as her only chance to live flew over her head, unable to do anything. Meanwhile on the other side, ground crews began large-scale searches, but without exception all they found were bodies. No survivors at all. Then the earlier helicopter, after dropping off the officer, decided to go back and search again. The pilot thought that person didn't look like they were waving hello, but more like they were calling for help. They also had families of their own, so they understood how the victims' families felt. Even if there was only the slightest hope, they couldn't give up. The girl's mother, after getting the news, immediately rushed to the airport, but the staff there told her it was a car accident, even though her daughter was on a plane. Could there be some hidden truth behind this crash? Why would the staff deliberately cover it up? Meanwhile, the girl had no intention of giving up. She wanted to find the section of the fuselage where her boyfriend was. No matter the result, she had to know if he was alive or dead. But just then, a tiger suddenly appeared in her sight. It had tracked the scent of blood all the way here. It was clear it was hungry now. Seeing this, the girl slowly backed away, but she accidentally stepped on a branch. The sound instantly caught the tiger's attention. Compared to corpses, it seemed more interested in a living girl. She froze in fear, just when she thought she was about to be killed. That helicopter appeared in time. The deafening rotor noise scared the tiger away, though the girl escaped with her life. She once again missed the helicopter, and before she could recover from the shock, pain shot through her wound again. She took a cigarette from her pocket, hoping for a small smoke to ease her bad mood, but the cigarette was already damaged in the crash. The girl was furious. She never thought that now even having a smoke was a luxury. As she sat there unsure what to do, she happened to glance at a branch in her hand, and fell into deep thought. The girl remembered this plane's destination was east, and at the time of the crash, her boyfriend was in the cockpit, which meant the direction she fell in should also be east. Although she didn't have a compass now, it didn't matter. Her boyfriend once taught her how to find direction in the wild. First find a silver needle, then rub it hard on clothing to magnetize it, then place it on a floating leaf. Luckily there was a teddy bear here, and its button had a silver needle on it. Soon the girl used this method to find the direction. Then she filled a container with water from the river, and took off the dead person's clothes to move more easily. She even turned her high heels into flat shoes, so limping along she set off. But the calls of birds in the forest meant this journey would not be smooth. Soon she saw a patch of forest destroyed by the crash. It seemed she was going the right way, but before she could could be happy for long. She accidentally fell into a swamp. She began struggling desperately, but the more she struggled the deeper she sank. When she didn't know what to do, she suddenly saw a small sapling in front of her, like grabbing a lifeline. She reached for it with all her strength. Luckily the sapling was sturdy enough, and before it was pulled out by the roots, it helped her climb out of the swamp. But bad luck kept coming. As soon as she climbed up the slope, the slippery ground made her slide back down. Though she wasn't badly hurt, she had to climb it all over again. For a girl with an injured leg, it was pure torture. After she finally climbed up with great effort, she ran into the same tiger again. She didn't understand why she was so unlucky. She thought she could quietly sneak past it, but even such a tiny movement was noticed by the tiger. Without the helicopter's help this time, she could only run for her life. The tiger chased right behind her. Just as it was about to catch her, the girl slipped and fell into a deep pit. After a long time she woke from unconsciousness. She struggled to stand, and quickly looked around. Luckily there was no sign of the tiger, but just when she thought she was safe, the tiger suddenly appeared. She quickly hid to the side. Luckily the beast didn't notice her. Then the girl found a lighter on the road. With it she no longer had to go hungry. More importantly, she could finally have a smoke. She also used a can she found to regain some strength. Meanwhile the officer finally found the person responsible for the crash. Normally when the military has a flight mission, they inform civil aviation to avoid each other's routes, but this time they didn't. So when the pilot followed the original route, he accidentally collided with the passenger plane. Once this kind of mistake became public, it would cause huge negative impact for the military, so they chose to hide the truth for now. At this time the girl, after enduring countless hardships, finally found the cockpit. Her heart was full of hope, because she always believed her boyfriend must still be alive. No matter how big the trouble he faced, he always found a way to solve it, so he couldn't die so easily. But she had to first cross a rushing river. She had only walked a few steps when she was swept into the water. Luckily she had great luck, and managed to crawl ashore. The bloodstains on the cockpit showed how serious the crash was. Then while searching for supplies inside, she unexpectedly found a flare gun. She quickly loaded a round, and fired a shot into the sky, but the rescue team wasn't nearby, so they couldn't see it. Just as she was about to fire the second shot, she realized this, and put the round back. She decided to save it for when she saw the rescue team. Just then the temperature dropped suddenly. She was shivering from the cold. The girl gathered dry branches, hoping to make a fire for warmth, but the lighter had stopped working after being soaked in water too long. She knew if this continued she would freeze to death, so she took a plastic bag and put it over her head. That way she could keep more heat in. She then fell into a deep sleep. Meanwhile the parents of both people arrived at the crash site, but the area had already been sealed by the military. No unauthorized personnel allowed. The girl's father knew the officer in charge. If he found him he could learn the truth, but for now getting in was the problem. At this time, the boy's mother had a bold idea to drive straight through the checkpoint. The soldiers chased after her immediately, but they underestimated her driving skills. Even chasing to headquarters they couldn't catch her. Luckily the connections were strong enough, so the soldiers didn't make things difficult for the man. The man understood their feelings, and introduced them to the officer.
Я вас слушаю.
В этом самолете летел мой сын. Ему 19 лет.
Галя, наши дети летели с свадебного путешествия. Он упал.
Hearing this, the parents couldn't hold back anymore.
Тогда покажите мне тело моего сына.
Тела не нашли.
Так, значит, они еще могут быть живы?
Боюсь, это невозможно, самолет упал с 5 километров.
They refused to believe the fact in front of them. As long as they hadn't seen the body, there was still hope. The officer said the rescue team would do everything they could. After sending them away, he told the man the earlier rescue helicopter had seen a girl.
Какая повариха?
Махала. Бортмеханик заметил.
Я в лагере всех знаю. Там поварихи нету.
Hearing this, the officer finally realized, and quickly sent out the helicopter for rescue. Meanwhile, the girl found a backpack in a tree. She took it down and saw it was her boyfriend's. Inside was even a picture of herself. The more she saw, the sadder she became. All their memories had been so beautiful, but this crash shattered everything. She wasn't willing to accept it, so she put on her boyfriend's backpack and set out again. Soon she found her boyfriend. Seeing him, she thought she could go back with her boyfriend now, but when she turned around, she saw only a cold body. She broke down crying, refusing to believe the fact before her eyes, but soon she pulled herself together. Her boyfriend in heaven would want her to live well. Then she began desperately climbing up. At this time the rescue team was also searching for her. The girl called out loudly, but her voice was so small in the rain. Worse still, the pit was now extremely slippery. Each time she climbed up she slid back down, but luckily the man on the other side found the earlier flare she had fired. Smelling it, he was sure she was nearby, and shouted loudly. The girl finally climbed up. Once up she didn't waste a second. With trembling hands she loaded the flare, and with her last hope, fired it into the sky. Everyone instantly noticed the light. After 3 days of hardship, she was finally rescued. At this point everyone might think, it's impossible to survive a plane crash, but this was a true story. On August 24, 1981, a Soviet passenger plane and a military aircraft collided at 5,000 meters and crashed. This woman was the only survivor, but the incident was deliberately covered up, until years later when it was revealed. She also received huge compensation, though she later married and had children. Whenever she was interviewed by reporters, she would think of her true love, and often shed tears. They had once been so happy. If she had fastened her seatbelt back then, the ending might have been different.